This is For the Love of Sports on Fox Sports 980, 95.9 FM, as well as the free iHeartRadio app. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be tuning in on a beautiful, sunny, a little bit windy, but sunny Father's Day. First off, want to start out with saying happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there having a big, important impact on life. One of the things that goes unnoticed, and this isn't a knock on anybody other than fathers, they work hard. All they ever think about is their family at home. They go to work, they put in the time, and they're doing it not just for themselves, but for the family that they have at home to support them. And one of the things that goes unnoticed is sometimes, it's a little unappreciative or, you don't think to stop and say thank you. So today, on this day, Father's Day, we're going to stop and say thank you. Thank you for doing all you do. Thank you for carrying the weight. And, sometimes thank you for just being there. And that's the most important part, is being there. Now, I haven't had the luxury of having a father in my life. I've had father figures in my life, and I appreciate them so much more now that I've helped raise a little daughter who turns 3 in July. And, we have temporary custody of her, but ultimately the last almost 3 years, come December, 3 years of having her in our lives and being able to watch her grow and learn how to be a human and eventually an adult has been a major impact on my life. And I wouldn't have it any other way. So even though I'm not a technical father, I do consider myself to be a father figure. And it's been one of the most spectacular things in my life. And I finally understood what they mean when they say the days are long, but the years are short. And these last 3 years have flew by with little serenity in our life. And it's truly been a blessing. And I hope it continues to be a blessing and have a positive impact on her. But you're not here to talk about fathers. You're not here to talk about Father's Day. If you do want to talk about Father's Day, feel free to call in. The phone line's open, 518-690-0980, 518-690-0980. I'm your host, Zach Harris. This is For the Love of Sports on Fox Sports 980, 95.9 FM. One of the other fathers that may be at an extremely happy level is that of Del Curry. Del Curry watched his son. He has multiple kids, but watched his son, Steph Curry, become a 4-time champion and a 1-time finals MVP. And it still feels like we are not appreciating Steph Curry as much as we should. And before we get into why we should be appreciating Steph Curry way more, I want to talk about some of the unsung heroes of this Warriors team in their amazing 8-year run of 6 finals appearances and 4 championships. Think about it. This could be a team that, if they were a Draymond Green suspension and 2 major injuries away from being a 6-time champion in the last 8 years. And that's a spectacular feat. And unfortunately, things happen, injuries happen. Draymond Green got in his own way against the Cleveland Cavaliers, got baited into picking up a flagrant foul and had to sit a game because he's got too many flagrants and technicals. And ultimately, those are the breaks. But that didn't discourage the Warriors to have 6 finals appearances and 4 championships in 8 years. And I think one of the biggest unsung heroes is that of Joe Lacob, who just about 10, 12 years ago in 2010, so 12 years ago, almost 12 years ago, July 15th, purchased with his partner, the Golden State Warriors, for $450 million. You're now talking about a organization that's worth over $5 billion. But during that time, Joe Lacob did not buy the Warriors just to own an NBA team. He bought a team to be a champion, and not just a one-time champion, a team that's willing to compete. And you take a look at the luxury tax that this team has had to pay over the last handful of years, they've done a great job. They build a team through the draft, and then they pay their players. They help elevate their talents on the highest of levels, and then they pay them. The Draymond Greens, the Klay Thompsons, the Steph Currys, they take care of their own. And that starts at ownership and trickles down. When you show the willingness to not only build a franchise the right way, but also do anything in your power to keep them and do anything in your power to remain a winning franchise, it goes a long way with the players because it creates a culture from the head down. Creates a culture of winning and excellence in family. And that's what you ask any of these Warriors players. That's what it's like playing for the Warriors, is family. The next great thing, an unsung hero, would be Bob Myers. Bob Myers, the general manager, hired in 2011, took over roughly mid-season. And Bob Myers has made some great moves since being the general manager. Now, obviously, when you win a lot of games, you don't draft near the top of the draft very much. And when he has, he's hit. And even in late in those drafts, he's been able to find gems. Jordan Poole being one of them. Kevon Looney being one of them. And it really, the whole thing turned around. The whole thing turned around. And this does not get much talk. Number one was, and even though he didn't specifically make the pick of Klay Thompson, he was there when it happened, but he traded Monta Ellis to the Milwaukee Bucks during the 2011-2012 season when he took over as general manager. And Klay has started ever since. Klay Thompson has started on the side of Steph Curry, obviously without injury, but started ever since that 2011-2012 season. Late in the season, I think he had 29 starts in a row or whatever the case may have been. So that's another unsung hero. And then in the offseason of that 2011-2012 season, they go on to select Harrison Barnes in the first round with the 7th overall pick. Festus Ezeli, who doesn't get talked about enough for that first championship run, with the 30th pick. And then Draymond Green in the second round, 35th overall pick. And that's just one of the many things that they were able to do. One of the many things. They were able to bring in a guy like Andre Iguodala, who was that veteran piece that brought it all together. They fired Mark Jackson as a head coach in 2014. And this was a peculiar move because Mark Jackson was the one that helped the franchise and organization realize that three-pointers and analytics are the way of the future. And not only did they gravitate to that, they decided to take it and run with it. So one of the unsung heroes was the fact that Bob Myers was able to fire Mark Jackson after a 50-win season. 50-win season. Mark Jackson had 3 years with the Golden State Warriors and had a huge impact on them selecting Klay Thompson and then having the thought process of putting Klay Thompson and Steph Curry, two great shooters, next to each other and say, I know what they did in Phoenix, the 7-second offense, but let's take this and elevate it, and I know we can win at a high level in this league. And Mark Jackson, we can give him enough credit, but guess what? He wasn't the reason the Warriors became what they became. He was part of the reason, but the ability to have that confidence to fire a guy that in his last 2 seasons with the Warriors won 47 games and 51 games. To be able to fire that guy and then 13 days later steal Steve Kerr away from the New York Knicks. And the reason I stated that way, because as a New York Knicks fan, it burns me and kills me that a guy like Steve Kerr could have been a New York Knicks head coach. But obviously you need the players too. It's not just about the head coach. You need the talent. You need talent to win in the league. They bring on Steve Kerr, who has done an outstanding job, 6 championship appearances, 4 championships in 8 years. And if it wasn't for a suspension in Game 5 of the Cleveland Cavaliers title run being the first ever team down 3-1, we could be talking about something different. Completely changes the complexity of LeBron's career. Completely changes the idea of the Warriors. There's no KD if that happens. And then to bring on other guys. Andrew Wiggins, Kevin Durant, all these guys, the Barbosas, the Gary Paytons, the Kevon Looneys, all these guys that needed another chance. Otto Porter Jr. never lived up to being a top 5 pick. He's come to Golden State in his 1 year with Golden State. He's done a tremendous job. So that's why Bob Myers needs to get a lot more credit. And that starts with the owner being willing to pay money to continue to win. And then obviously, having the wherewithal of firing a coach in the midst of having a 47-win season and a 51-win season back-to-back. And bringing in a guy like Steve Kerr, who helped elevate what Mark Jackson thought, took it, ran with it, and now you see what the Warriors have become. Because Mark Jackson helped initiate this three-point style of offense, and Steve Kerr helped perfect it. Now, I want to get into Steph Curry and why he does not get enough credit. And I know a lot of shows are now jumping on the bandwagon of Steph Curry's a top 10 player, top 5 player, greatest point guard of all time, blah, blah, blah. And then you have your shows that aren't. Steph Curry, there was talk about Steph Curry being shut down by Matthew Dellavedova, however you spell his name, J.R. Smith, Kevin Love. We always talk about how Steph Curry isn't clutch in his fourth quarter performances and his finals performances. You take a look at his numbers and you'll say, okay, maybe they aren't as bad as the media made it seem, which they're not. They really aren't. And then you take a look back at old finals appearances and you really see that Steph Curry is the engine that makes this team go. And he doesn't necessarily care how they win as long as they win. And I think that's one of the things that when we think about greatness, it's not just that you have to win at a high level. You have to be the reason that they win. Like we look at LeBron James. If LeBron James passes up the game-winning shot, he's a terrible player. Why could you do that? You're the GOAT. You're supposed to be making these shots. And it's kind of that Kobe, Michael Jordan effect where I have to have a killer. I have to have that killer mentality. He needs to be able to go win the game. And it's not that Steph Curry doesn't want to win the game. It's that he doesn't care how the game gets won, whether it's him making the game-winning shot or Klay Thompson or Jordan Poole. He doesn't care how it gets done because the only stat that truly matters to Steph Curry is the W. That's the W, the win. That's the only stat that matters to Steph Curry. And I think that's one of the things that's kind of his downfall is that he doesn't have that killer mentality. He's not taking over games late, which he can. He absolutely can. He just wants to win. He wants to make the right plays. If the play is you got double teamed and Klay Thompson's coming off a screen, he's wide open, you give it to Klay Thompson. He, with LeBron, maybe does not get enough credit to making the right basketball moves to help a team win. And I think that's one of the things that negatively impacts him. Another thing that negatively impacts Steph Curry, and I'm sitting here, I'm 5'6". Steph Curry's 6'2", roughly 190 pounds. You go to the basketball court, you see these 6'2" guys, these 5'11", 5'10", 5'8", whatever the case may be. And they look at Steph Curry and he's relatable. He's relatable. So when he's relatable, we take a look at it as he can't be this dominant force. He isn't LeBron, 6'6", 280 pounds, flying down the court. He isn't Michael Jordan, as athletic as he is. So how can we accept the fact that he's dominating the game? Another knock on him, and this is something that doesn't get talked about enough either, is that you go to the local gyms, the YMCAs, the pickup basketball games, and you see all these people that have absolutely no wherewithal of what it takes to be a Steph Curry and decides to shoot these half-court 30-footer, 35-foot shots. They don't understand the level of difficulty. They have no business shooting the way that Steph Curry does. Now, if you train and you get better, then that's one thing. But I think that's negatively impacted that no longer is it considered a bad shot to take a 35-footer. If you're Steph Curry, if you're not Steph Curry, it's considered a bad shot. And I think a lot of people don't realize the degree of difficulty it is to do what Steph does. We've seen three-point shooter snipers. We've seen Steve Kerr. We've seen Kyle Korver. We've seen Ray Allen and Reggie Miller and some of the greatest shooters of our generation. But they don't do what Steph Curry does. They don't shoot and create their own three-point shot. A lot of it is off of screens, the catch and shoots, the catch and shoot threes. Steph Curry creates a lot of his own three-pointers, creates the separation, is able to come off the dribble and shoot. That's something that wasn't seen before. Maybe in small doses, but not to the level and the efficiency that Steph Curry is able to do it. And I think the fact that he has shown the ability to do it, it just comes second nature to, oh, okay, whatever. We've seen it before. We haven't. This is not like what Reggie Miller has done in his career. This is not what Ray Allen has done in his career, or J.J. Redick, or Kyle Korver, or any of these other three-point specialists. This is something completely different that hasn't been seen before, and haven't seen it before. We look at Michael Jordan, we look at Kobe Bryant, we look at LeBron James, and as much as they differ, the ways that they won championships have relatively been the same. And for Steph Curry to do it a different way, to put his ego aside, to allow a team win and be more of a team game and be part of a system, has been something that we're not used to. Kobe, the triangle offense, whatever. Kobe was the offense. Shaq was the offense. LeBron James is the offense. So to see a guy win 4 championships where, maybe he's not scoring in the fourth quarter, and it's not because he can't, it's because the defense attracts to him. If you watch that Celtics game in Game 5 where Steph Curry went 0 of 9 from 3, watch the fourth quarter again. Watch the 2 to 3 men, defenders, pull up in the pocket on top of Steph Curry. Remind you, he is 0 for 9 from three-point range. And that's how much of a threat he is, that they pull 2-3 men up on him. And he makes the right moves. It's something that we're not used to. We're not seeing as much. And then one of the last things that I kind of wanted to talk about was him not being a quote-unquote true point guard. The Warriors are an elite assist organization. This is a team that Steve Kerr has come in and instilled, passing the ball, making the right move, getting the open shot, hitting the open man, and they have been a top 5 assist team since Steve Kerr has been the head coach, outside of the injury-riddled year where they won 15 games. But you take a look what they have done year in, year out. They are at top of the assist game. So that doesn't mean Steph Curry needs to have 8 assists or make all these passes. He is a point guard, but he's a product of the system. And the product of the system created doesn't allow him to be an assist leader like a Chris Paul is, like a Rajon Rondo, or any of these point guards that have the ball and have more usage than a guy like Steph Curry, because the ball floats through the team. You got guys like Klay Thompson and Draymond Green, and even Kevon Looney has been able to be a more willing assistant passer. You see what Kevin Durant did when he came into the Golden State Warriors and became more of a passer as well. That's a product of the system. And then also the selfishness play of Steph Curry. We talked about it a little bit before, but Kevin Durant coming in and allowing Kevin Durant to do what he does and win 2 finals MVPs. The fact that he earlier in the postseason came off the bench for Jordan Poole because Jordan Poole was in a hot streak. And he said, you know what? I'm battling injury, coming back from injury, even though I know I can play and play at an elite level. I'm going to come off the bench. And he told Steve Kerr he's willing to come off the bench. You think LeBron James is doing that? You think Michael Jordan would ever do that, or any of these great players? So I think that's why we often knock Steph and he doesn't get enough credit. The product of the system, quote unquote, ruining the game because so many want to imitate him. And while imitation is the sincerest form of flattery, wow, I can't speak. Imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. It does negatively affect him when you go to the YMCA, you go to the pickup basketball games, you don't go to the organized games, and they're chucking, running, and gunning. It does negatively impact him because you have those old heads that say how he's ruining the game with a three-point shooting. But ultimately, Steph Curry does what Steph Curry does, and we need to appreciate greatness because it's something we've never seen before. We've never seen that unselfish style of play lead to 4 championships. We've never seen the three-point barrage that he's been able to create. And we've never seen the shooting of difficult shots off the dribble, and I think it's something that needs to be talked about more.